Hi, welcome to Property Photography. My name's Mark, and today, as promised, we're going to have a look at replacing skies. Now, you may want to do this for a number of reasons. It could be that you've made a special journey to your favourite spot to do some landscape photography, only to find the weather's dull. Bland sky, overcast, not particularly bad, but just bland. So if you have some stock images of skies, then you can do a sky replacement and make the shot more interesting. Or it could be, like myself, you shoot for real estate or estate agents, and if there's a dull sky, then it tends to detract from the actual property that's for sale. So what we do then is replace the sky for a more interesting one. Not plain blue, we don't want a plain blue sky, we want some cloud in there, some interest, but something with a little bit of bump. So let's have a look. I've got 3 images we're going to take a look at. One is a sky image, and then I have 2 images where we're going to replace the skies. One's got a lot of trees on there where the sky peeks through the branches and the leaves, and the other one a lot of solid buildings where there's easy selections to be made. Let's take a look in Photoshop now. In Photoshop I have 3 images open because I have this one which has a lot of solid objects, which is fairly easy to mask off, and then we have this one with a lot of trees and the sky coming through it, so that's a lot more difficult. But I wanted to show you just how powerful this way of selecting and replacing the sky is, so I wanted to do the 2. So I'm going to go back to this first one. We have a few trees here and on this side here, but we also have the bar across the top of the gate, which might cause a problem. So first of all, we need to make sure that you have the move tool selected. Go to your sky, grab the sky and move it over the top of the image where we're going to be working. Now before you release, hold down the shift key and then release. That ensures that the sky is dropped perfectly and centered over the top of your image. On the right hand side in the layers panel you can see we have our sky, we have our background. What you need to do is hide the sky by clicking on the eye, highlight the background. It's still active, okay? This bounding box here shows that that's what we're working on. It shows that it's active. Come over to the selection tool, which is the 4th one down on the left hand side. So tapping that, we now need to make a rough selection. That was fairly easy. You can see it's a bit rough there. It's missed out as I thought it would, top of the gate, and it's going to be a bit ropey round by the tree. Not to worry. Top of the screen here, you have the select and mask. Tap that. On the right hand side in the properties panel, I tend to work on overlay mode because I like to be able to see what's underneath. At the bottom, in the output settings, I choose to use selection because sometimes I work on the selection once it's gone back into Photoshop. Okay, but there are other options there. So making sure on the left hand side you're using the 2nd tool down from the top, and then with your brush, a decent size, I'm just using the square brackets on the right to increase the size of my brush, and I'm just going to drag the brush over that area. Okay, and as you can see it's made a fairly decent selection of that tree. Now coming in between the garage and the house, we've got some branches there we need to select, and that bit of sky between the top bar and the fence gate. I'm going to reduce the size of my brush now by using the left square bracket, and I'm just going to go and paint in there and just below there, and that's cool. We have this top of the fence, so just take that, there we go, and there's a tiny little bit in there, that's got it. So once you're happy with that, tap OK. We go back into our main work area in Photoshop. We can see the marching ants going through. In the layers panel on the right hand side, let's make sure now that we select the sky, that you activate the sky so you can see it by tapping that little box. And on the bottom we're going to select a mask. Here we go, and that's made a pretty good selection. There's an area there where it's gone over onto the white part because it's very similar in colour to the sky. So if you hit B, selecting the brush, make sure that you have a black that you're going to paint with on the top. Just going to zoom in a little bit. Here we can see this area there, so just take that out there. Missed a bit on the top there, but if you tap somewhere there, then hold down the shift key and it'll put a straight line in for you. Do it again there, and hold down the shift key. There you go, puts in the top of the roof again. It's just where the sky had gone over. The sky doesn't look too realistic for the picture though, it looks a little bit dark. So when I tend to use the stock skies, I don't work on the skies. I keep them as NEFs. I use Nikon. So it's a NEF file, raw file. So what we're going to do now, back over in the layers panel, if you activate the actual image of the sky by tapping on it, you see the bounding box has now activated that. And what we're going to do is select from the bottom the curves tool. Now, you can see the histogram. If we just grab the center point there and push up, the whole image becomes brighter, which is no good to us. What we need to do, at the bottom of this panel, there's a little box with a down arrow and it has a dash through it. And what's happening is this tool is affecting all the layers beneath it. If you tap that box, you can see the little dash has disappeared, histogram's altered, and the reason for that is it's now working just on the sky, not the background layer. So now, drag up the curve, and there we go. So our bottom layer is fine. The sky is now brighter. And you can put a little bit of an S-curve in there, make it a bit bluer by pulling down on that. But we don't want it too bright. There should be about right, so I can push it up a little bit more there. And then let's pull that out of the way, and that looks pretty good. So that is our first image where we've replaced the sky. What you do then is you can save it as a PSD if you want to come back and work on it or do something else to it. What I tend to do is flatten the image, save it as a TIFF, and then it's converted to a JPEG for my clients. Okay, so I'm going to close that one down. Don't want to save that one. And we're going to have a look at this image now, because there's a lot of detail within the trees where the sky is actually coming through the branches. Again, you should work on your files first. I haven't on this one. But again, what we're going to do, tap the move tool, go over onto your sky, drag the sky up, over onto your image, hold down the shift key before releasing, then release, and it places the image exactly where you need it. From here, make sure that you hide the sky, that you have your background layer here on the right hand side selected. Come back and pick the selection tool, make a rough selection that's gone across. You can see the marching ants across here and across there. Okay, and then from there we need to refine the edge. So back to the top of the screen, select and mask, tap that. Now we can see just how rough that selection was. Again, I'm using the overlay mode, and with a decent sized brush, I'm just going to tap the right square bracket to increase the size of my brush. I'm now going to come and work around the edge. It doesn't matter if you go over the trees, because what we want to do is pick all those areas between the leaves and the branches, which will make it much more realistic. And that's about it. It looks like we have everything selected. Happy with that? Back over onto the right hand side, output to selection, and tap OK. There we can see our marching ants showing our selection. Tap the sky, because that's what we're going to work on. Make sure that you have the sky not just selected, but also that you can see it by tapping the eye again. Okay, then come down to the bottom. We're going to add a mask. There's the sky in there again. Brilliant. Again, it's a bit too dark, so make sure we select by tapping the sky image. The bounding box moves over to make sure that it's active, and then back down to the bottom, select curves. Make sure you tap that little box so that we're working just on the sky and not the background layer. Grab somewhere in the center and just push that up until you've got it roughly where you want it. You're just going to move that out of the way, and there we go. And if you look between the branches, you can see it's pretty good. And that is how we do a sky replacement. And that's it. It's as easy as that. Once you get used to it, it's fairly quick, and time is money. We need to get these things done fairly quick. It's not the only way of making a selection. You can go into selection at the top menu and do a colour select. It also works, but sometimes it's a little bit more complicated. For me, I find this method the easiest, but as I say, it's not the only method. Well, thanks for watching. Stay tuned for further videos, and please subscribe and give me a thumbs up. Thanks very much. Bye bye.